Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on the X at Fantasy Aceball. And we got John here. You can find John Anderson at John PGH on X, Twitter, whatever.
We're about to hit 30,000.
Yeah, I'm at like 4. Why don't you throw me some of those guys? So throw me some of those peeps.
Takes a lot of time, Tim. Not many people can do what I've done in compiling 29,500 Twitter or whatever it is, 29.9. Probably the most impressive thing anyone's ever done to get a large Twitter following. Although there was
for fantasy baseball, yes, I would say so because I guess you do post stuff on other sports too, but for fantasy sports, that's pretty impressive. I think
most people just really want to hear what I have to say about politics and religion and stuff anyway. We can be real. People want my parenting advice. They want my take on climate change and just really my, all the Bible stuff. That's really what the people are there for. And the baseball stuff's just secondary. So,
So I'm interested. Did you gain more followers when you started doing the prospect stuff with me, or did you gain more followers from fighting Tommy Pham?
Oh yeah. No, the one hit tweets, the people actually don't follow you in that. It's actually kind of interesting. You would think that when you get, I got a phone call. When you get 1 million impressions on a tweet or something, people just they don't actually follow you for it. It's funny, but it's just the steady, the interest, the algorithm, it comes in waves, February, March, you kind of just pile on the followers because people get more into baseball, but prospect stuff has helped. Although we get these questions that I can't answer. People think that I'm some prospect guy. So I'm pushing them all over to you. But yes.
All right. So today in this podcast, we're going to be talking about relief pitchers. We're only doing one relief pitcher podcast because my feeling, and this is important, my feeling about pitchers in dynasty and prospect pitchers that are relievers is that they don't really matter. Most relief pitcher relievers in the majors are failed starters, not like guys who grew up relieving. You probably remember, John, that the big guy last year was Craig Yoho. Everyone's like, oh, Yoho, he's going to be amazing. What a great reliever. And then the guy before that was Orion Kerkering. How good were they last year?
I don't even know I don't remember Yoho at all. I know Kerkering was kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
He couldn't throw the ball he's the only thing you remember him for is that playoff play, throwing the ball to home instead of going to first, costing the Phillies possibly the series. So, of course, it is that is. I mean, plenty of guys make good careers as relievers, but it is something to realize that most of these guys didn't want to be a relief pitcher. They all kind of wanted to be starters, and it doesn't. When they fail at that, they go try something else, and then you'll see these dudes why in Dynasty I don't consider spending money on it is because the examples of who's Jeff Hoffman, there's a Cubs guy, Brad Keller, and there's the Orioles guy, Keegan Aiken, just off the top of my head. 3 of the absolute worst starting pitchers in recent memory. These guys tried to be starters and they were awful. And then they convert to relievers and they turn into really good relievers too. So it's almost a ton of starters could just flip the career, go to relief and then figure it out. So year to year, you can easily replace relief pitchers on your dynasty teams. And you see that in real life too. The one thing the Pittsburgh Pirates have never been all that bad at is in the bullpen because it's pretty easy to find those guys. So this is not really a dynasty discussion, I guess, but it's something we got to figure out for this year's leagues for sure.
Yeah, pitchers are also super volatile, so up and down. So for if you're thinking about, okay, Tim, how are your dynasty relief pitcher rankings any different than your redraft? It's very minimal between the positions. That one has the least amount of movement. It's okay, yeah, I might move Aroldis Chapman, who's 38, down a couple spots, and then I might move up Jeremiah Estrada, who will maybe be a closer someday, up a couple spots because he's young. So it's it's a little bit of movement, but it's so different. It's such a small difference that we're just not gonna do multiple podcasts on it because it's a waste of time. So we're gonna only talk about one relief pitcher podcast. This is it. This is your relief pitcher.
How many are we gonna do for starters? How many?
Oh, Well, you were talking about doing one this week, and so I have probably a few we'll do for starters because there you just have to go so deep. Like are
Yeah.
these 30 teamers that we're in, John? Like you're going to be going 250 starters deep pretty much.
Yeah.
Like even in a traditional 15 team or a 12 team league, you still need to go like 150 starters deep throughout the season. So you kind of need to know some of those guys. So some of the deeper starters are pretty important. So we'll do a podcast this week. I didn't respond to your email yet, but yeah, I'll jump on that with you. As long as I'm not recording at the same time as Doc, we can do your top 25 starters. So we'll jump on that. But there's a big trade, and it involved my favorite team, the St. Louis Cardinals. So there's a three-way trade last night, and in the trade, the Mariners acquired Brendan Donovan, one of the most underrated players, just because he's not a great fantasy player, right? Like he's like a much better real life player because he plays like 4 or 5 different positions. He's actually pretty useful in like deeper leagues or like daily leagues because you can move him around. If like someone's sitting, you can just move him and fill the void. So he's actually like way more useful in like a deeper daily league than he would be in like a 12 team weekly league or something like that. So Donovan actually like pretty solid player, pretty much like 120 WRC pluses throughout his whole career. Really good OBP guy, so solid points guy, and really just solid player who also a very good defender too. So I gave the Mariners an A in this trade because I feel like they didn't give up very much and they got a really, really good player. And it's 2 years of control for Donovan, and he's super cheap. I think his ARB was only like $5 million, so they're like paying him nothing.
Didn't they spell it? Isn't that spelled wrong on the screen? Isn't it Brendan, D-A-N?
Yes, it is Brendan.
Oh, man, I'm so good. That's the best thing. I can pick out typos like nobody's business.
Yeah, he's the Dan, not the Don. So Donovan, though, I give the Mariners an A. I think they just did not give up as much as they should have for this trade. Then we'll go to the Mariners or the Rays side of it. They got Ben Williamson, which I thought was kind of interesting because I saw this and I'm like, really? They traded a 2nd round pick and they traded Colton Ledbetter to get Ben Williamson. Like Ledbetter is like not a top 10 prospect for them. So it's like, okay, it's like they didn't give up a killer prospect in the deal, but 2nd rounder is kind of a big thing to give up, a comp pick. Like that's going to be a high 2nd rounder. I think it's like the 49th overall pick or something like that for Ben Williamson, who to date has basically been like a no pop, really good defensive third baseman. So like when I saw that, I'm like, what does that mean for like Junior Camanero's long-term position eligibility if they're shopping for defensive third baseman? This is going to be a Reds scenario where they're like, okay, we'll take the crappy offense to get a really good defensive glove at third, and then they move Caminero to first, or I don't know, something else. Like, what do you think when you saw this? Is this just like, oh, it's just a backup, whatever? Or is this like maybe they just like is a backup for like, hey, we think Caminero is not going to make it long term at third?
I didn't think too much about it. I just thought the Rays just they don't like when trades happen without them being involved. So they were just, they were in the bushes and they heard the other two teams talking. They jumped in to be part of it. But it is an interesting takeaway, I guess. I mean, they don't do anything. They don't do things for no reason. I didn't know what a comp B pick was until you said that. That's like after the first round or whatever, the comp picks.
Yep.
Is the comp A pick, is that like in the middle of the first round or something? Or
I don't think they're comp A anymore.
So comp B,
they used to give first rounders for like guys who would sign with teams, and now that has like degraded down to second. Okay. Like basically, it's in between first and second round is like what it is. So
yeah, Williamson's been in the majors, right? A little bit.
A little bit.
85 games last year, 604 OPS, 1 homer, and 295 plate appearances. So looks pretty bad. I don't know where do you put Caminero, over to first when Yandy's packs it up or something, I guess. But maybe.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the move. I mean, like it got my attention because he's a defensive guy, so it's like it's interesting. I mean, he does have a good hit tool. Like his zone contact is like 90-something%. But I made a joke on Twitter. I was like, his current batted ball profile makes Nolan Shanuel look like Frank Thomas because he's hitting the ball on the ground 60% of the time. So,
oh, man.
Yeah.
He hit 6 homers in the minors last year, though, so it's not nothing, I guess. But
yeah, maybe 10 homer power if he had a full slate of games.
And I knew it was the weirdest part for me was knowing who these minor leaguers were now. Like, in years past, I was like, okay, prospects. I don't know, but I knew who Drangelo Saginte is, and I could almost even pronounce it. Talk about
It'd
it.
be
Is
good.
that how you spell that guy's last name? I mean, imagine that the dude that made this graphic gets Brendan wrong and then nails Saginte,Cijntje. Although he would have had to look. I mean, what a name, just a mess. So he is the two-handed guy.
Yes, it's a good thing his name is not Yastinson Sagente, because then you'd be combining like the hardest first name with the hardest last name to spell in all of baseball. Uh, but yeah, so
Yeah.
the Cardinals got Drangelo. I've never really been the biggest fan of him. He's never made my top 150. I know he's like Baseball America's 97, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, the Cardinals got a top 100 guy." It's like, okay, first off, barely. Like he was like the last man on the list. And second, like his thing that he's famous for is a gimmick that is failed, basically, because the Mariners had already been planning to move him to righty only, like prior to this trade. Which on this point, back when he was drafted, this is the write-up that I wrote, John. I had him ranked as my top 165 player at the beginning of last year. So this was like FYPD, whatever, beginning of 2025. But this is what I wrote about him. I put Saginte literally pitches with both arms. If that's not a skill, I don't know what is. He's a smaller bulldog type because he's only 5'11", and is far superior pitching from the right side because he gets up to 98 with a solid changeup and a slider, and then from the left side where he's in the low 90s but has a nice sweeper from the left side. It's easy to write Saginte off as a gimmick or a fun bullpen guy, even though I keep calling him a gimmick because of his size, but there's a chance he focuses on the right arm and possibly only plays out the left arm when there's a massive split advantage or a third time through the order. So you like that? I predicted that over a year ago.
Yeah.
So go me.
And
Shout out.
yeah, you'd have to practice. I mean, if he's going to ditch the left-handed thing, it's just going to go away forever, right? Because you would have to do bullpens and stuff. I mean, that's tough. Does he have to do 2 bullpens a week? Like, does he have to do, or does he just split it in half, I guess? I don't know. Like, whatever these other dudes need to do to warm up, they take out 50 pitches to warm up their right arm. Does he have to do double that to warm up the left arm too? I mean,
Well,
it's all
maybe that's the
weird.
problem. Maybe he's just focusing on one. But like, if you want to bring up the splits on our pages here with him real quick, it's pretty terrible. He was good against righties, so you assume against righties he's pitching with his right arm, and then you assume against lefties he's pitching with his left arm, at least maybe half the time, maybe not all the time. But his against righties, he had a 2.37 JA ERA. And then against lefties, he had a 5.07 JA ERA. His K minus walk against righties was 24.5. So that's actually pretty good. And then against lefties, it was 2% K minus walk. So he was absolutely atrocious against lefties. And we don't have the data saying which arm he was using against lefties. So we don't know if he was lefty or righty against those lefties. So it's hard to know. Like, it's hard to define those splits, like how bad he was throwing as a lefty.
It's actually here. It is in the data. It's just not on the screen because I've never thought that I would have to let you select which arm, but
Yes.
it is under there. but good bet that he was. Although you're right, they can't switch in mid inning. So
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So you're assuming he's lefty against lefty, but it's just like kind of who knows? Like he might have been righty against some of those lefties. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm just not that big of a fan. I feel like a lot of the hype on him is the fact that he throws with both arms. And if you just only thought about him as a righty only,
sell some tickets.
How much would we be talking about him? Like he's good. I don't think he's amazing. I mean, he's small, slight frame. Like I don't know, 2 good pitches, 1 pretty solid pitch. But like I think like Taco Roby is better as a righty, straight up. But he's hurt, so that dings him in the rankings. But anyway, that's the main guy that the Cardinals got. The next guy they got is Ty Pete, who I have actually ranked ahead of Sagente. Ty Pete is a tooled out guy, like terrible plate skills, bad contact rates, good power, good speed. 19-year-old kid last year. He hit the ball 111 miles an hour. Fast dude on the base pass, 45 steals his first season in 2024. Really sloppy on the base pass last year. Only 69% stolen base rate last year. So, and he's apparently like really ripped. Like Welsh has talked about it before because Welsh has seen him. Like I'll get to see him this year in person, but Welsh always talks about how ripped he is in Arizona, how much bulk he added. So like my joke on this one is that he's basically like a little mini lefty Tyler O'Neill. So especially Tyler O'Neill also was traded from the Mariners to the Cardinals when he came over. So it's like almost like a replay of that. So I like Ty Pete a little bit. Interesting dude. You have some photos. You want to put that up, John, on the screen here. I know you're trying to show. Yep, there you go.
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, he was a Little League World Series guy.
Oh,
There he was
yeah?
as a kid. Yeah. There he is.
Oh,
Boom.
that's actually him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he was Little League World Series dude. 2018. How old does that make you feel? That was him in 2018. I looked exactly the same in 2018.
Yeah. That doesn't feel like a long ago. Grew up quick.
Yeah. All right. The last guy the Cardinals got here is Colton Ledbetter, who I'm actually pretty big on Ledbetter. I remember when I talked about him on our podcast on the Rays. Doc was on, and Doc was like, bedwetter. What? Yeah, Colton Ledbetter here, lefty hitter. He had a rougher season last year because he was playing in the Southern League. So just remember, like, take his stats last year for a grain of salt as a Southern League guy. But this dude steals a lot of bags. And he also can hit the ball 114 miles an hour as his max EV. So that's pretty solid max EV there. Good line drive guy. Extra base hit, 142 extra base hit plus, John. So really nice extra base hit plus here for Ledbetter. 74% contact rate. So pretty solid contacts. I feel like the stats were kind of drained by being in the Southern League last year. Maybe once he gets to AAA and like a better league, some of his stats go back up because he did have like mid-teens home runs the year before. But he needs to work on his angles and he needs to work on barreling the ball. That's his big downside is lack of barrels right now. Strikeout rates are kind of high. So maybe he can get those down. Obviously, the contact rates are not that bad. So maybe he just needs to kind of work on hitting the right pitches, like decision making on what pitches to swing at, and then barreling the balls because he does have a pretty nice extra base hit profile here for Ledbetter. So kind of interesting. Good proximity here too. So that's what we got on this trade. 2 second rounders too for the Cardinals. So 2 comp B picks actually, not just one. So pretty solid return on the draft pick side. But
it's
that's
gonna be
trade.
bad season for the Cardinals coming up, though.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty bad. I was obviously hoping, like, I give them a B on this trade. Like, I was hoping that they would get like Ryan Sloan or something like that, like a higher end guy. Like, there were rumors that they were going to get Sagente and then Lazaro Montes, which I would have liked more than Pete, obviously. But it is what it is. It is the trade. They actually got a lot of stuff, so like probably 1 or 2 of those guys. But when you combine the draft picks, will hit. So. A couple dart throws. Like I'm quality over quantity type, but it's not a terrible return. Like it's a decent enough return because they got a lot of stuff. So
didn't have much of a choice. If you wait till the deadline, you've already burned more than half of the 2 years he has left under contract, and they probably just listened to offers all winter and decided it was time to kind of pick the best one or something like that. You moved Donovan up a little bit in the ranks for 2026, so it's probably about the park shift is probably about a wash, kind of the same. Neither are great, but he's not really a home run guy anyway, so the park stuff maybe doesn't move as much for him. But it's a lineup upgrade for sure. He probably quite possibly leads off for them all year, and that would be pretty nice with Julio and Raleigh behind you, but not necessarily, right? I mean, J-Rod's led off for them, Arozarena, Robles when he's healthy, so. A slight upgrade. I don't think I moved Donovan up above another second baseman, but I did move him up above a couple other guys. So that's the trade breakdown.
Yeah, you got a Rosarena Donovan reunion here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the relievers. So we're going to get to our relief pitcher rankings here. If you're watching on XVision or YouTube, you can see our top 5. Or I guess they're my top 5. John's might vary slightly.
So I basically cheat on my relievers, and it really does matter. Let's set it up here for league type. If you only want saves, then that's a lot different than being able to get if it's a saves plus holds league. Like, I don't understand really why anybody would pay. Why would you be the first guy in the draft to take a reliever if you can just get if holds are just as valuable as saves? Like, those are way easy to find because just think about the raw volume of it. You can have multiple holds in a baseball game. You can only have one save. So there's way more holds. There's more players that get them. it's pretty easy to find really good ratios from a guy, a 7th or 8th inning guy. So if you're in a holds league, you don't really even want to bother with this top tier unless the prices or whatever. I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm undervaluing that, but there's that. And also I just kind of
strikeouts. I mean, you get strikeout upside, I suppose,
but the ratios, like in the typical league, you're starting like half as many relievers as starters. Those relievers are throwing a third of the innings as the starters. So you do the math, if you have 6 starters times 180 innings and you have 3 relievers times 60 innings, that ends up being, 80% of your innings coming from your starters. So the ratios that the relievers give you in the 20% of innings they're throwing for your team, like a 1.5 ERA from Josh Hader or whatever, in the best case, or Mason Miller, sounds great, but it doesn't actually help your team nearly as much as it seems like, because he's throwing such a small percentage of the overall innings. So just to set the stage there, you really have to be league specific with your relief pitcher strategy.
yeah. So my rankings, the way that I put these rankings together is more from like a points perspective. So if you play in like a points league, a lot of the times the saves, even though they'll give you points for saves and holds, the saves will have slightly more points.
Yeah, true.
Like it might be like 1.5 versus 1 or whatever. It all depends on how the league is set up, but that's kind of like a standard. So when I put these rankings together, like I'm obviously looking at stuff and like who's going to have the most strikeouts and whatever. But the other thing you're going to look at is like I give a little more weight towards saves than to holds, even though I have here saves, holds, saves plus holds. So if you're watching, you'll see the saves column is literally from last year. The holds column is the totals from last year. Saves plus holds are the total from last year. And then we have our F scores. So number 1 is Mason Miller. Number 2 is Aroldis Chapman. Number 3 is Edwin Diaz. Number 4 is Joan Duran. And number 5 is Cade Smith, who's going to be the closer for the Guardians now that Emmanuel Clase is in like baseball forever purgatory or whatever. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to make a judgment on him or if he's just going to sit in Trevor Bauer timeout for 10 years. But basically, like Mason Miller has the closing job now in San Diego. He's not going to be the setup guy. Garcia's over with the Braves now, so you don't have to worry about that. So Miller should be your top guy here, I think. He's going to get the most strikeouts. Padres generally get a lot of saves anyway. They're a team that plays pretty close games. And I feel like the Padres closer every year is knocking like 40 saves. So Miller should get a ton of saves this year. And that's why he's number 1. Is he your number 1, John? Or do you have like Diaz number 1?
I didn't do it yet. I pretty much just copy the ADP. I think so. What I'll do probably is just like take the NFBC most recent auction values or something like that, and then just make those my relief pitcher rankings, because it's so league dependent that you can't even really give those out anyway. But I think I would have Edwin Diaz, but it's an interesting point because the Dodgers are probably going to win the most games, but they often win by more than 3. I don't think they usually lead the league in saves anyway, so it's hard to predict that, and you probably shouldn't work too hard to try to predict that stuff because it's pretty random. But yeah, I mean, Mason Miller has what's his career strikeout rate now, like 43, 44% or something like that. Like if strikeouts are valuable, he's obviously the top guy. He only threw 62 innings last year, while Cade Smith ramped up to 74. Maybe Smith, and again, that's a tough thing to predict either. It does somewhat seem like the non-closers can throw more innings because they're not in those situations where the team is waiting for a save situation, and they'll get to their max at a higher rate. So like last year, Cade Smith led the relievers in fantasy points scored at 313, throwing 73.2 innings. Mason Miller was 12 innings below him, so he was down out of the top 10 in points, but he's probably the best. If you have 1 inning to get, if you could pick one pitcher to put up 1 scoreless inning, who do you pick? Mason Miller probably is the answer for a lot of people.
Yeah, he has a 128 F score, which is the second highest to Chapman out of all these relievers, and a 148 stuff score, which is like the best of, I think, any pitcher. So it's like, like obviously like the relievers are going to score better on that. But 148 stuff is absolutely ridiculous. So Mason Miller, big time champ here. And then Diaz, like when was the last time a Dodgers reliever had 50 saves or 40, like high 40s, like Eric Gagne? Like it's been a minute. Like their guys just don't get, like, even like Evan Phillips was pretty good for a few years, but he just didn't get a lot of saves. I almost expect Joan Duran could get more saves because I feel like the Phillies are going to play closer games. So as long as he's healthy, like he could get more saves. Like Diaz has better stuff, which is why I gave Diaz the, like, the nod between 3 and 4 with Duran. But I think Duran's going to have a good year with the Phillies. Like he could be an underrated source here for saves.
We've got to go back to Miller real quick. I've got to once again talk about my connection to Mason Miller because he didn't graduate from Waynesburg, but he and I are probably the two greatest athletes to ever come out of Waynesburg University, a small Christian college in southern Pennsylvania. He was on the 2020 baseball roster, 2018, 2019, 2020. I was on the 2013 tennis roster, so I was a little bit older than him, a little bit ahead. He didn't get the chance to meet me and shake my hand, unfortunately for him. But he went on to slightly bigger and better things than me, but it's a Waynesburg connection that we can't forget. And yeah, I kind of started thinking about Waynesburg and wasn't even really listening to you there. But I'm going to look at the Dodgers save stuff. Chapman, let's go back to Chapman too. Like all of a sudden he doesn't walk anybody. Is he fixed, or is that going to revert? Is that going to regress back to what you're used to? Because he had probably the biggest walk rate drop in MLB history. It made no sense.
I mean, he's always been really good, so I kind of trust it. Like he's been working out a lot this offseason, and I think that he's like his anti-Yankiness right now is just fueling him to new heights. Like it's like it's like his hatred of the Yankees is just fueling him to like his career best seasons now, just to make sure that they don't win the World Series or something. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, I like Chapman a lot. He was so good. Like I was really high on him going into last year, and then it panned out really well. So like I'm big on Aroldis.
I think these walk rates. I won't go the whole way back. Let's say 2021 Chapman
Share that one.
Okay, well it's Fangraph page, so it's a little bit.
Oh, you don't want to share Fangraphs?
No, it's just hard to see. It's hard to see. I can't Here they are. For the people listening, 2021, 15.6%. Can we get a little bit? Let's see. It's getting ugly. Screen sharing is not easy. 2022, his walk rate, 17.5%. 2023, 14.5%. 2024 with the Pirates, 14.7%. All of a sudden, drops to 6.6%. He cuts 8 points off his walk rate. His career walk rate is 12.2%, so it was half his career. Like that stuff doesn't happen. I don't know. And like a lot of people are just going to be like, well, the Red Sox fixed him. It's like, why didn't somebody else do that? It's been in the league since 2010. I guess it's not random and stuff, but man, so much of that, how elite he was, had to do with the fact that he just like stopped walking people. The whip went from 1.35 to 0.7 last year. So I'm not going to have him in my top 3 or 4 or 5. I don't think, just because I'm worried about that not repeating. It was weird.
Yeah, well, 200 BABIP. I mean, like he's not going to do the same thing. I don't think he'll be as good, but I think he's still going to, like, he was so dominant last year. I think he's still going to be really good. Like, yeah, maybe he gets an 8 or 9% walk rate, which would be more consistent with his Reds stats. Because if you were looking at that chart, you notice his Reds walk rates were way better. So maybe it's just like a Yankees thing. But yeah, there's our top 5. Cade Smith. I guess we'll talk about Cade Smith for a second because he's like the newcomer to this territory here.
Here's something else. So these are the saves, the team saves leaders last year. So the Padres at 49, and then the second group was Cade Smith plus Clay. The Guardians had 47 saves, Royals 47, Phillies 47. So the Dodgers only 3 behind at 46. They just kind of split them up. So team really matters. I wouldn't try to guess at which good teams will get more saves or less, but you obviously are going to prefer Mason Miller on the Padres than if he were on the Marlins or something like that. That makes a big difference for holds too, because you can't get a hold in a game you're not leading. So that matters a lot. And Cade Smith is certainly a breakout onto the scene here because he finally, he's been dominant for a few years. This four-seam fastball is absolutely ridiculous, puts up ridiculous numbers. And now he's the guy in Cleveland who they don't score many runs, but they somehow win games and they don't allow a lot and they get a ton of these saves. I mean, Clace was the number 1, number 2 guy for several years there, and Smith kind of just slides right into that. So he's, maybe might even be a little bit cheaper. He could certainly finish the year as the number 1 reliever.
Yeah, he's pretty safe too. You see the
Yeah.
125 control. So I like just how like I talked about how with the F scores we like to use plate discipline. The discipline score is kind of like a barometer for beta. I like to use control as that with pitchers. So like a higher control means that they're going to probably be a little bit safer. Like there's probably going to be less volatility in that profile than if it's like a Mason Miller with the 107 control. I think Kate Smith is a bit safe for this territory here.
The
Can I get
most
to the next five?
important stat I'd say is strikeout rate, though. Like
It's tough, yeah.
with what we just talked about, with it's not the case for starters. You really want to worry about control of starters, but like we just talked about with Chapman, with those 14-15% walk rates, it's not like he was a bum. He was still really good. Like it was probably a conscious thing. He's like, whatever, I'll walk a guy per inning, but I'm going to strike out at least 2, so he's not going to even get the chance to move over on a ground ball or something like that. So really, just what you want to do as a reliever is limit home runs and have a high strikeout rate, because when you're coming in with 1-run lead, a walk doesn't hurt you too bad. I mean, it's not great, but giving up a home run or letting a bunch of balls get in play are what you want to avoid. And all of these guys, I mean, Kate Smith had a 35% K rate last year with a 5% walk rate, which is way lower than you typically see, and that certainly doesn't hurt, right? So yeah, a 30% K minus walk for Kate Smith. I think you could even have him a little bit higher here, but a clear top 5, I think that's fair.
Yep. Okay, next 5. We've got number 6 is Andres Munoz. Number 7 is Josh Hader. 8 is Devin Williams. 9 is David Bednar. And 10 is Raisel Iglesias, who a lot of people didn't realize had a really, really good second half. Like he was like one of the better relievers in the second half. And people like, it's funny. I had leagues where people cut him. He was so bad in the first half. But Andres Munoz had a really good season last year. And I kind of like push him down in my rankings. Some people might have him like top 3. But he has iffy control. So there's going to be some volatility here. Like he had some games. I remember one game, I think he like walked the bases loaded. They literally lost because he like walked the bases loaded and then walked like 2 more guys. Like they just like walked like 5 guys in a row. And it was just like, oh, and I watched that game live. I was like, oh, see ya. So you have to worry about the control here with Munoz. I don't necessarily think he's going to repeat what he did last year. 7, Josh Hader. I feel like he's getting more fragile as he ages. Like him and the Astros has just been like, you almost have to guarantee, you almost have to like book that there's going to be some sort of injury here. Like Hader, I just don't trust. Like 134 stuff, awesome. 126 F stuff or F score, awesome. But it's like I just don't necessarily trust he's going to stay healthy the whole year because he's been hurt a lot lately, especially with the Astros, and also not a good stadium for him either. Right, like. That's not the best stadium to pitch in. Like, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. Devin Williams had a really nice rebound. Really bad first half, really good second half. Devin Williams has always been really good. So I don't necessarily think that, like, his poor performance in the first half is going to rear its head back. He's going to be the closer for the Mets. The Mets are going to be a team that gets a lot of wins. So he's probably going to get a lot of saves. There's not even
ground
like a
ball
battle,
guy
like,
too.
Ground ball guy. He's definitely going to be the closer. Like you don't have to worry about like someone else sneaking in there and jacking some saves from him. So
Mets should be good too. They should win 85 games or something, right?
Yep, exactly. And then we got there's Bednar up there. So David Bednar is next. So Bednar with the Yankees, a little, like obviously that's a tough ballpark. He transitioned pretty well there though.
He got sent to the minors last year though. That was weird.
Yeah.
And then he was awesome after he came back and figured it out. But
yeah, he's always been good though. He's always been this guy who's like really solid, but never been like a superstar, right? Like he's always been kind of solid. Like he's always the guy that you would pick like last. You'd be like, okay, I didn't get any saves yet. Let me pick him before like he falls off because he's going to get 30 saves. And so he's done that every year of his career. But now being in the Yankees, like obviously like there's more pressure on him, but there's also a chance for more saves because the Pirates have always been like an 80-win team. So it's like, he's only going to get like 35, like 36, 37 saves. He's not going to be able to get more than that. With the Yankees, he does have the chance to get 40-something saves. But like, yeah, can he handle the pressure? He did last year. It didn't seem to phase him. So, I wouldn't be surprised for him to have maybe a career year here. So obviously, like it could be worse for homers pitching that park, but like I expect him to be very good.
Yeah. It's mostly about job security and, do you have the job? Are you on a good team? And can you strike guys out? And check. for Bednar, 34.5% K rate, even with the struggles last year. I mean, almost a 28% K minus walk. It's one of the best, and did not give up home runs. 62 plate appearances per home run. It's kind of a weird way to do home run rates, but it's important. So I kind of wanted to show that for these guys. If you really just don't want to be a super heavy fly ball guy, that was Munoz's special. Only gave up, I don't have the raw number. He gave up one home run to every 125 and a half batters face. So he was really, really tough. If you're not giving up home runs, you're going to convert most of those saves. I like
He's
Hader.
not going to repeat that though. There's no way he repeats that.
No.
He's going to regress, but yeah.
I like Hader just because I don't like injury stuff with relievers. It's almost never. How often do you hear about a reliever missing a bunch of time with injury? I mean, it doesn't seem to be a huge issue. And I guess he finished the year hurt. He didn't return. So there's that slight issue, but I mean, he's one of the greats, one of the guys that, and not even to say that because has such a good career means he's going to be great this year, but it does mean that he's going to be the ninth inning guy. He's like one of the few remaining dudes from the old guard that like every team had a closer, and you're the guy that gets the saves, and Hader feels like he's owed that. So,
well, let me throw this out here. So, the projections, what projections do is they give every reliever like 62 or 63 innings, pretty much just like automatically. That's like what all these projection systems do. Josh Hader has not thrown 60. He's only thrown 60 innings or more one time since 2019. So 2024, he had 71 innings, but in 2025, only 52, 2023, 56, 2022, 50, 2021, 58, and then obviously COVID-19, short season, 19. So like he's only had one season where he's thrown over the estimated, like whatever projection thing in the last 5-6 years. And even now, like if you look at it, like they all give him 62 innings, but it's like, he's only done that one time. So are you really going to project that? It's kind of crazy.
And that's a consequence of, so it kind of evens out. If you're only interested in his saves, you're not as worried about that, because the reason for that is that they're not using him unless it's a save situation, or at least they hadn't been in the past. Like I'm pretty sure there was news about him being like, I'm not going to pitch in the 8th inning. I'm not going to do multiple innings. Like I don't do that. And like he had the reputation to like get away with that or whatever. But I think, like 50 innings in 2022, I think that's just about, we're going to wait for a save opportunity. And if we don't have one for 2 weeks, he won't pitch. So it's bad for your totals and the impact on the ratios and stuff. But it does mean that he'll, when he's pitching, he's piling up a really high like saves rate or whatever, 34, 36, 33, 34, 28 saves the last 5 years for Hader, 37 in 2019. So he's been a 30 save lock pretty much. Would have had in the mid-30s again last year without the injury. But it's a good point. You're definitely not going to get 70 innings out of him like you can with some of these other guys.
Yep. And then last, we got Raisel Iglesias. He has 253 career saves. This guy basically banks 30 to 35 saves every year, and the Braves are a good team. And he bounced back. He has a career 2.90 ERA. Like he's a really good pitcher. People dropped him. They're going to remember he had a bad first half, but pretty solid pitcher. It has been for a long time.
22% K minus walk. He wasn't actually bad. I mean, the K rate's nowhere near these elite guys. Mason Miller's at 44%. Remember, Raisel was at 28%. But walk rate's good. No questions about his like, he's not going to break down in the 9th inning or something. He's used to that. But with Robert Suarez in town, it's kind of a strange, unexpected thing. The Braves went out and dropped the money for Suarez. They said Iglesias is the closer, but his leash is going to be a lot shorter than other guys, you'd think.
Yeah, for sure. Next 5, you got Jeff Hoffman at 11, Griffin Jax at 12, Ryan Helsley at 13. Speak to the devil, Robert Suarez at 14, and Kenley Jansen at 15.
So for a saves league, we would call it like a cliff here, right? Like if you want saves, get one of the top 10, because we have bigger problems one way or the other, as we'll get to. But at this point, you're like kind of iffy, and that's crazy. Only 1/3 of the league has like a solidified closer, and that's kind of how things have been going. But it's pretty rough this year. It'll get more clear in spring training, I suppose. But for now, if you want to lock in some saves, get in there early.
Yeah, I mean, arguably Jeff Hoffman is like the last guy you can rely on, right? Like, and he was not even good in the playoffs. He had some rough times in the playoffs. Yeah. But Hoffman, number 11 here, like banks to be the closer for the Jays.
So in fairness, so does Helsley. and Jansen, but you don't know if they'll be good. And I think it's fair to say
Yeah.
that Hoffman is significantly more risky performance-wise than the first 10 we talked about.
Yeah, definitely. And then so you got number 12 here, Griffin Jacks. He would be much higher if the Rays just came out and said he's the closer
Yeah.
in my rankings because he's so good. Like, if look at the F scores, 123 F score. He's way better than these other guys. 128 stuff, 115 control. Like, he's better than everybody in this tier by far. He's better than some of the guys in the last tier. Like, if
Right.
they just came out and said Griffin Jacks is the closer, then I might have him like ahead of Bednar. Like, he might be like between Devin Williams and Bednar for me, because he's so good. But it's just like, okay, like the Rays basically have said, "Oh, we don't know what we're gonna do, and it's gonna be some mix of Jackson, Uceta, and Baker." And like Jax will probably run with it, but Uceta and Baker are no slouches. Those
And that
two guys,
lefty too. They have the lefty. They have a lefty as
yeah,
well. So
yep.
the Rays never do, and the Rays might be really bad. I mean, they're never really bad, but they might only win 74, 75 games this year. They're not trying to win. So it could be, you could be splitting up like 28 saves 3-4 ways. So big boost for him in holds leagues though, because he is extremely good, as you mentioned.
Yeah, he could get like, I mean, like, I don't know. If I had to guess how many saves Jax is gonna get, 23, 24, probably.
Yeah.
Like
Plus
for the year
10
would be my guess.
holds or something. So the
Yeah,
holds will
yeah,
be
exactly.
there.
It was like 8, 9, 10 holds, something like that. So next on the list is Ryan Helsley. Helsley obviously had a pretty bad time with the Mets. He was really good at the Cardinals, gets traded, and then it just gets blown up when he's with the Mets. And he was really good for years before then. So, like, what can we expect from him? Like, is this just like, oh, he's just really good with the Cardinals? He loved it there. I don't know. Like, he could have probably come back to the Cardinals on a short-term contract if he wanted to. Maybe they would have re-signed him. Baltimore's going to be pretty good. So, good team. Could get a lot of saves. This could be like your big value. Like, this is the big gamble. Like, Helsley here could be like the biggest dart where, like, you could throw this dart and he could be a top 5 closer. Like, he could be a 40 or 50 save guy. So, like, this could be a huge gamble that pays off, or he just completely messes it and is terrible. So it's like, this is like a big time gamble here with Helsley. I'd
so
probably
much
take it, though.
randomness.
He's been really good for his whole career. So, like, I'd kind of take this one.
Yeah, and the Orioles could be one of those teams that wins 88 games and most of them are close. So I like that as well. Maybe you don't want him as your first guy, but the thing to also point out is that it, even like we talked about the ratios in the ERA not being a huge impact on your overall fantasy team, it's also incredibly random for relievers because we're talking about 50, 60 innings. I mean, you think about a starter, they've got, how many times do you see a starter with really bad numbers in mid-May and then they figure it out and they get it together and things even out? But in mid-May, they're probably at like 40 innings, you know, like these relievers basically pitch a third of the season, which just makes them susceptible to all kinds of randomness. I was just reminded of Josh Hader. In 2021, Josh Hader had a 1.23 ERA. And in 2023, 2 years later, he had a 1.28 ERA. Between those years, he had a 5.22 ERA. I mean, things can get really weird in a single season sample. So you almost don't want to guess at it. You're just looking, like we said, for the good teams and the guys with strikeout rates. And Helsley came down to 25% last year. It's hard to believe that. You know, that doesn't come up, the big velo. Maybe, I don't know. Also, maybe he was one of these first guys kind of throwing 101, 102, doing that 7-8 years ago, and now that's a little bit more common. So maybe hitters are just not, you know, they're more prepared for it or something like that. But overall, I agree. He'll be the closer. At least he'll be the first guy to get a real shot at it on a good team.
Yeah, definitely. Next here is Robert Suarez. So Suarez with the Braves, not going to get saves. We just mentioned that Rysel has basically been given the nod as the closer. Suarez is going to be the setup guy. If Rysel's bad, that could change. But like I said, Rysel has been very good for a long time. I don't necessarily expect that to happen. And then Suarez too, 35 years old. A lot of people might not realize how old he is because he came over late in his career. But he's 35, so it's not like he's like way younger than Rysel or something to like take the mantle. It's like they're basically the same age.
How much stuff? These last two have the low stuff, Suarez and Jansen. Suarez only had a 13% swinging strike rate. Not a huge, I mean, 28% K rate, but he's had some times where he's just not getting a lot of strikeouts, and that's always a little bit more risky.
So a couple things that matter between these guys is that Suarez is moving to a worse ballpark. Braves ballpark plays up for hitters. Yeah. So he's moving to a worse ballpark for him. San Diego is a really good pitcher's park. And then you've got Jansen, who's moving from the Angels, which is a really good hitter's park, to Detroit, which is like a top-notch pitching park. So, like, basically reverse ballparking here, too. Like, you know, like if you're in a saves-only league, you probably want to take Jansen ahead of Suarez. But in saves plus holds, I'd probably still lean Suarez because he's better, safer, a little bit younger. And he's probably going to get a ton of holds because the Braves are pretty good. So like I still expect him to even in saves holds. Like wouldn't you expect like 30 something for Suarez still?
Yeah, it'll be good. The Braves. I mean,
Yep.
there's a clear 1-2 there. He's not going to pitch in the 6th inning or anything like that. Yeah, so I think that's good. These are the kind of guys I would target in a save holds league. Like let the big first 5 big closers go off the board, and then settle in with Suarez or with Griffin Jacks or something like that, where the 8th inning counts almost as much. As for Jansen, he will he? I wonder now because the Tigers should be in the division race. You would think. I don't think they're going to be great, but the division is very winnable. What if he's struggling? I mean, he's the Hall of Famer. He probably has a little bit longer leash on the saves, but like he was with the Angels last year where they weren't playing for anything, so they weren't going to mess around, put him in the 7th inning because it didn't really matter. But could the Tigers do that if he's not getting it done? It's not like there's great pitchers behind him or anything like that, but I'd be a little bit worried. He's 37. He'll be 38 this year, and the K rate has been coming down. What 24.6%? It's really low for a closer, so a little bit of risk there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. The thing, like he's a fly ball pitcher. That's a good place to be a fly ball pitcher. Like it's hard to hit home runs in that park. So.
It did get easier. They moved 2 years ago though. They moved the fences down or in a little bit or something. It hasn't been quite as friendly, but it's still pitcher friendly. You're still right, but it's not quite as bad as 2022.
Yeah, and I mean like he's like you said, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He's got that trajectory. They're like going to give him a chance, unless he just Craig Kimbrell's it and like completely falls off a cliff. I think he's pretty safe.
Here, let's look at. Let me show you I just don't love to see this. It can snap back, but you see the K rates. He was a 40% guy with the Dodgers in the heyday, and even before last year, he was in the high 20s, and it kind of catapulted down 4 points. Maybe it was just he didn't like playing for the Angels or something like that. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, apparently they don't even have an AC in their. Apparently they have their gym in the stadium doesn't even have air conditioning. So,
okay. So all right, but I don't like a 24% K rate from a closer, so I'd be avoiding Jansen, I think, but he could definitely pile up a ton of saves. It's a good team to be the closer on. So.
Yep. Next on the list, we got 5 guys. 16 is Pete Fairbanks. 17 is Trevor Megill. 18 is Ryan Walker. 19 is Dennis Santana. And 20 is Robert Garcia.
I got the wrong graphic. Hold on.
You got the wrong one on there. So we got Pete Fairbanks is going to be the closer for the Marlins. You already mentioned, like, how much do you want to be the closer for the Marlins? Pete Fairbanks is good. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's always been good when he plays. He has health issues too, so like even more so than Hader. Like you can't expect more than like 50 innings from Fairbanks, really. But when he's healthy, like he's pretty good. Miami's a great pitcher's park, so he's going to be in a good park. But how good will the Marlins be? Like he should probably still get like 25 saves. They're going to have some good pitching this year, so he might actually. They might win a lot of like close 3-2 games.
Right.
Like
he
could stealthily get a good amount of saves. Actually,
I like him a lot. He'd probably be my favorite target after the top 10 or something, like price considered target.
Yep. Next is Trevor Megill. The Brewers kind of messed around. Like Megill is safe, but he's not their best reliever. Like I like Abner Uribe. We'll talk about later.
Is it really Megill, or do you just saying that? Is it
that's what I hear it.
Really?
I want to say Megill, but I hear everyone say Trevor and Tyler as Megill.
Really?
Yeah, both brothers. So yeah, Megill is pretty good. Was good last year, 30 saves. But with Uribe around, like Uribe had 7 saves last year. I think Megill was hurt when he did get the saves because you see he didn't have any holds at all. So it's not like he was just like pitching in the 8th inning. So I think this is more just like, what are they going to do? Like Uribe's better. The stuff is better. Miguel's been good and solid, so maybe they just leave well enough alone and leave that the pecking order. But it's just hard to rank those guys because they both did get saves last year, and because Uribe does have better stuff in my mind. So do you have a note on this Brewers bullpen here?
The drafters are like almost just as excited about Uribe as McGill, and this is saves only. So these guys are really hunting for saves in the NFBC. I think, and on the screen we show the ADP trend, and it's gotten really tight. It opened up with like an 80 pick gap, but in these January drafts, they've been, McGill's around 110 and Abner's around 130. So there's like just a round or two. I think a lot of that is about trade speculation for McGill, and as we get closer and closer to camp, that becomes less and less likely. I guess if they were going to trade McGill, they would have done it now. I don't see them doing it after they report to camp. So this will probably open back up a little bit, but yeah, Uribe is probably the better pitcher. I believe I heard that he was kind of the preferred guy in the playoff series where teams kind of show their hand. Like they're going to put their guy they trust. And so they might like him a little bit more. But again, like the eighth inning is often the other thing, the eighth inning is just as important as the ninth inning. 3 outs or 3 outs, like the first inning is just as important as the ninth inning in a vacuum or whatever. So they might be fine. A lot of teams will. It's not necessarily just because Uribe is better doesn't mean he gets the ninth inning. Maybe they do like the fact that they're comfortable in their roles or whatever. But this would make you a little bit nervous if you're trying to get saves from the Brewers, especially because Peralta's gone. It could be a pretty mediocre team, I would say. No guarantee of the Brewers winning 90 games again. So I'd probably try to avoid it. I wouldn't really be hyped about Uribe's price now either. But Holds League, they're both pretty good because the Brewers are probably are they still the favorite in the NL Central? It's probably close, but
yeah, them are the Cubs, I would say.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Reds have done enough. If they had added Schwarber, then maybe. But next is Ryan Walker, 18. Walker should be pretty safe. Like he wasn't as good last year. He was kind of rough. He started the season as the closer and then ended the season as the closer, but that's all because Randy Rodriguez got hurt. Like Randy Rodriguez was really good before he got hurt. Yeah. He's out for the season with Tommy John. The Giants didn't really sign anyone else who could take that spot. So unless like Hayden Birdsong just becomes like an amazing electric reliever or something like that, like I don't expect anyone to take the spot from Walker. Great ballpark to pitch in. But like, hopefully, like it all depends on how well he pitches. Like a 99 stuff is not good. He's like for a closer, that's pretty lackluster. That's the worst stuff guy that we've talked about so far.
23% K rate, but the ballpark does help. He was a ground ball guy. Only give up 4 home runs in 61 innings, so it evens out a bit. But he is not a strikeout pitcher.
Yep, exactly. Next is Dennis Santana. He kind of popped out of nowhere last year with Pittsburgh. He was really good. So he once Bednar was traded, he did come in and perform really well. Again, a lower stuff guy. So like you're probably not going to get a ton of strikeouts, but again, it's also a great place to pitch, good pitcher's ballpark. And I don't know, like you're the Pittsburgh guy. Like, is it possible like Mason Montgomery, the new guy, could come and take that role? Like who else would even do it? Like Ashcraft should start in my mind. Yeah. Ashcraft is really good. He should start in my mind though. So like, can anyone come in and take this role from Santana? Like Mlodzinski's really good too, but I think he's going to be a starter too.
Yeah.
So
I think Mlodzinski is middle. He's like a piggyback guy or multi inning. I think if they'll play the matchups, you'll see Montgomery get some left-handed stuff. But no, how many lefties have we talked about on this? That like this is another general rule that I actually did some research on a couple of years ago. Like if you take out Josh Hader, look at all the saves. Okay, so this is what you do. Go back. I should do this again, actually. Go back the last 5 years, get all the saves guys, take out Josh Hader, and then see what percent of the saves went to a left-handed pitcher. It's extremely small. Left-handed pitchers are like 35, 40% of the league. They get like 5 to 10% of the saves if you remove Josh Hader, who is kind of doesn't count, outlier. So for whatever reason it is, I mean, the lefty-lefty matchup in baseball is somehow more valuable than the righty-righty one. So they're more likely to get the lefty pitcher on a lefty hitter than the other way around. So it just goes to the righties a little bit more. So I wouldn't worry about a lefty taking over for a righty in these kind of situations, but I don't think Santana gets 95% of the saves or anything like that. And you're right. He looks very, very similar to Ryan Walker with a 22% K rate, but didn't allow home runs. But no, I maybe like this Kyle Nicholas guy, he doesn't have much command and he hasn't proven much, but he's got really good stuff. He might be their best right-handed pitcher, like stuff-wise, but I think it's safe. And I think the Pirates are set to win 78, 79 games this year. They're a better team than they've been in the past. So I think that's a good deep one too for saves.
Yeah, major flyer if you want to take it. Mason Montgomery, 124 F stuff. So we're not going to talk about him in this pod because I think we're going to go 40 deep, but he's my number 41 reliever. So his control is terrible, 82 control, but a 124 stuff. So there's, like you mentioned, stuff is way more important than control for a reliever. Robert Garcia, the last guy in this tier, talk about another lefty here. He is projected to be the closer right now for the Rangers, but they've got Chris Martin hanging around. Josh Spores is going to be healthy. and they've got Alexis Diaz. So it's like, like I just don't know how much to trust him. Yeah, he had 9 saves last year. He's their leading guy. He's on the top of the depth chart right now. But they only have 2 lefties.
Well, you just said it. Say that again. You just said he had 9 saves and led the team.
Yeah,
That's really low.
Yeah, well, no, well, he's the last man standing basically from the team.
Last year he got 9, Luke Jackson got 9, Phil Matten got 3.
I think they had Yates going into the year. No, or was he in the Dodgers already?
That was
a
couple
point?
of years. Yeah, so they only had 26 saves as a team, and 6 guys got at least 1. So they've been one of the organizations that has not committed to a guy in a really long time. So I would probably
Spores has had saves there before in the past. Alexis Diaz could easily come in and just be like the guy if he rebounds at all. Chris Martin is solid, but he's like, I don't know. Are you like right now? Chris Martin is projected to be the 8th inning guy. He's going to be 40 years old, but he's a righty, so I don't know like what they do here. It's just like a mishmash of like okay guys.
You actually
don't have any standout reliever.
Rangers fans are probably mad because Kirby Yates did have 33 of 37 saves in 2024, so that was a different story. And then they had Will Smith a couple years. So, okay. It hasn't been as split as I thought, but last year it certainly was. And they don't have a clear like pitcher where you look at and you say he's the best guy. So it'll probably be a mix again.
Yeah, unless Kumar Rocker, they just like say screw it, they make him the closer.
Yeah, I think that'll happen.
He would be a fire closer because he has 2 really good pitches, and then the rest of his pitches are garbage. So that could always happen too. Next 5 is Abner Uribe. We already talked about is 21. 22 is Jeremiah Estrada. Love him for holds leagues, like phenomenal stuff. 128 stuff. Just definitely stuck behind Mason Miller, so not going to get you any saves if you're in a saves only league. Next is Emilio Pagan. Like, how much do you expect Pagan to repeat? Like, he had his best season of his career at age 34, playing in Great American Small Park. Like, will that happen? They did sign him to be the closer, so he's going to be the closer. But, like, do we really expect that to happen again? 24, we have Daniel Palencia, who was pretty good for the Cubs, but they brought Phil Matan in as a nice backup. And 25, Edwin Uceta, who we already talked about with Jax. Like, Jax, and Baker are all supposed to kind of split saves there. So I don't really know what's going to happen. Should probably be Jax who gets most of the saves. See, Uceta 21 holds last year, only 1 save. But they just haven't shown their cards yet. So it's like, what can you trust? Relievers. When you run into, especially the Rays are like the most platoony organization of all time. Like, I feel like you just can't really trust anyone there. Though the Rays generally do fall back on one guy. Like in the past, they've shown when Fairbanks was healthy, Fairbanks was getting the majority of their saves. So it's very possible they actually do fall back on Jax. They just don't want to play their, show their cards or whatever. So this little group is really good for holds. And then a couple kind of like deep league saves guys who are a little scary. So what's your thought on this group here, John?
Pagan and Palencia for saves. They stand out ahead of these other guys. I think they will, if nothing else, open up being the closer on opening day. And if they pitch moderately well, I think they hold on to it. And they're both teams that could win more games than they lose. I mean, the NL Central, besides the Cardinals, they don't have and the Cardinals are probably going to lose 90, 95 games, but everybody else will probably be around 75 to 85 wins. So they can all kind of win games. And Pagan is I think he's pretty low here. This is saves plus holds ranking, so it's a different story. But again, like, he's one of these guys, him and Palencia, that you can get pretty cheap and feel decent about getting 20 plus saves. Your Uribe, if McGill would get traded, he would shoot up the rankings in a hurry. All this stuff, spring training is very interesting to watch for this stuff. You kind of see what teams are thinking. A lot of times our guesses will be wrong and teams will have a different idea, and you can start to figure that out in the spring. So got to keep an eye on the news. I would probably just avoid the Rays overall, and unless you're talking about holds. And if you're going to pick one, you take Griffin Jax for sure. But I don't hate Pagan, Palencia. I mean, the Cubs have more competition for Palencia than the Reds do for Pagan. But like you said, Pagan's not definitely good. So it gets tricky down here. You definitely got to have a closer or two by the time you're looking at these names during your draft.
Yep. The next 5, we've got Brian Abreu, who is the setup guy for the Astros, Matt Brash, who's the setup guy for the Mariners. So obviously, like, when you're in a 15-teamer and you're drafting for saves only, you want to handcuff guys, right? So like almost one of the problems with getting like Munoz is you like have to get Brash before somebody else snipes him from you because you want that handcuff, and Brash is really good. It's the same thing with like Hader and Abreu. So we've got Abreu, Brash, Seranthony Dominguez is next, who is a closer, but it's the White Sox. So like realistically, how many saves is going to get? Like low 20s maybe. Garrett Whitlock is a really good reliever. You actually mentioned him in the mailbag pod, I think. Reed Detmers is on this list, though it looks like he's going to start. He was really good in the pen. So like if he is really bad at starting again, maybe they just send him back to the pen and he could be the closer there for the Angels. We've got Doval, Adrian Morehone is good. Gabe Spires good. Grant Taylor kind of had his role taken. I was really high on Grant Taylor before they signed Seranthony because I like Taylor's stuff a ton. I feel like he was really unlucky last year. Really great prospect, but now he's blocked by Seranthony for the next 2 years, it looks like, as the closer. You got Louis Varland, Tanner Scott, Jordan Leisure, Vesia, Hunter Gaddis, Mason Montgomery, a bunch of dudes who are setup guys pretty much. I think the only team that we haven't talked about for saves maybe at this point is the Cardinals. You see number 47 is Matt Swanson down there. I like right now, a lot of people think it's going to be JoJo. JoJo is a lefty, so keep that in mind. And JoJo also will probably get traded at some point. Even if JoJo opens the season as the Cardinals closer, number one, he's a lefty. Number two, he will 100% get traded by the deadline. There's no way he's going to be the Cardinals closer past the trade deadline. And who will be the closer then? A lot of people like O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly sucks. I think Swanson is the best reliever in the Cardinals bullpen right now until you get like Gastelum up or like maybe Cooper Jerpy or something coming back from Tommy John halfway through the year. But Swanson is the best reliever in the pen. So like second half, Cardinal saves, like that would be my bet for saves. First half is maybe JoJo unless they trade him. So like that's why I don't want anything to do with that Cardinals pen this year.
Yeah, I like Grant Taylor here. I liked him a lot better before they signed Dominguez, but if Dominguez blows up or gets hurt, Jordan Leisure, Grant Taylor. But Grant Taylor's probably their best arm back there. He's really good. And we thought maybe they'd make him a starter, but it looks like bullpen again. You must have had just a missed player.
Who, Royals?
Carlos Estevez? Yeah. What's that about?
You know what? I think when I pulled this, he may have been one of those lone guys without F scores. Remember how you said there's like one or two guys that just had no F scores? He might have been one of those guys because I pulled this from you sent me a CSV of the F scores, and basically that's how I did these files.
That makes sense.
And he might have been like the one dude with the missing F scores.
Way to
I don't really like him.
Good job. He would be around 11 though with Jeff Hoffman, I would say.
Oh God, no, dude! 11.9% K minus walk rate last year. He's atrocious.
He led league in saves, though.
Yeah, I don't buy that happening again with an 11.9% K minus walk. He had a 4.43 Sierra. There's no way. He's the worst closer. He's the worst guy who is a closer in baseball.
He's the 11th closer off the board in NFBC, though. It's saves only situations.
No, I'm picking Ryan Walker ahead of him. I'm picking Miguel ahead of him. Fairbanks. I'm picking all those guys ahead of him. Probably picking Emilio Pagan ahead of him even. Like he'd be down in the 30 range or something for me. Like he's the last guy that I want with saves because Matt Strom and you've got Lucas Erceg are both better. One of those guys could easily take that job from him at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the top 50.
Even though they paid him.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of these guys will pop up. I mean, if you're in a normal league where you can make trades and waiver stuff, like it's not hard at all to find some saves and a bunch of holds during the season. So don't overpay, don't reach, don't overbuy in auction leagues and stuff. Relievers, they're probably the easiest position to manage during the season.
Yeah, and then the Rockies. I don't have a Rockies reliever on here. I don't want any of them. Never.
Of course not.
Vodnik, Herget, Halverson. I don't want a single one. They're going to destroy you. They're going to destroy your WHIP. They're going to destroy your ERA. It's not worth the 8 saves you're going to get from one of those guys or whatever because they're going to be all split up too.
Let's guess. What do you think? The Rockies had 29 team saves last year, 11 to Halverson, 10 to Vodnik, 4 to Agnos, 3 to Kinley, 1 to Mejia. Oh, man. It was that one Mejia play where I just was reminded about that. The funniest thing I've ever seen, I think, last year, Juan Mejia, the Rockies reliever, he was trying to get his first career save. I should have had this prepped. There's an infield fly ball right to the second baseman, but this dude runs out like a center fielder and lays out for it and absolutely trucks the second baseman. It was so funny to get his one save. So that was totally a random aside. But go look up Juan Mejia's save. It was so funny. It was just like that. I showed my wife like over and over again. And anyway, okay, yeah, totally agree. Don't touch any Rockies. I mean, get your closers before you get past the top 20 or so.
Yeah, Arizona is another question mark situation. You got like Ginkel probably will be the guy. Sal Frank is around, and you've got AJ Puck coming back at some point. So I think ultimately AJ Puck is the guy by the end of the season over there. And it's just like, do you want to draft a closer who's going to miss half the year? Like, I don't know. And then it's just going to be a mishmash before
Maybe
then.
Dre
Like,
Jameson,
yeah, hell yeah.
late
Dre,
sleeper.
yeah, Brandon Garcia is good. Has had his moments too. So it could be any of those guys. So like, I just don't want to mess with these like situations where it's like, just like you could literally take the whole bullpen, put them on a dartboard and throw the dart and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, you just never know. So that's the podcast, Relief Pitchers. That's your only relief pitcher podcast that you're going to get from us for this year. Unless John really, loves pain and wants to redo this with his own rankings, then, enjoy that one.
There are some, I don't do it. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't do relief stuff. I do have at least one person expressed interest in writing like a weekly bullpen. Some guys are really into the bullpen stuff. It's a niche thing, and it's pretty good to, if you're trying to break into the content business, like pick something super niche and get really good at it. So we might have some a weekly article about bullpen roundups or something like that. I got to follow up with the guy that brought that up, but
written by some masochist.
Yeah, you won't be getting much more from me. If you're looking for saves, just go to the NFBC data, see what the high stakes guys are doing. If you're looking for holds, just like, I don't know, don't pay for it. You'll figure it out during the year.
Here's a tip for the FBI. If you want to find out who the serial killers are, find out who the guys who love relief pitchers are, and you'll probably have a pretty solid correlation there. But anyway, you can follow me. I just scared away your guy. You can follow me on X at Fantasy Baseball. You can follow John at JohnPGH. Make sure you subscribe to MLB Data Warehouse and make sure you buy the prospect package. Only $29.99 for all the lovely draft sheets and rankings. We'll see you next time. We're going to be doing the back end of my top 150 prospects with Doc. Peace out.